Today on
Doomed!
we're going to leave the U.S. domestic politics issues aside for this episode. We're going to leave behind the right-wing influencers and personalities. We're going to leave behind the culture wars in the U.S. that are, the usual bread and butter of this show. And we're going to talk about an issue that a listener of the show has been calling in quite often and regularly to inform us about what's been going on. And we're going to do a full episode to really make sure everyone sort of, in the U.S. at least, or, in the West, I guess you can say, understands this issue, because it's something I didn't really know about, if too much or if at all, until this regular listener of the show called in. And, this show is, open for people to put a spotlight on issues near and dear to them, whatever they are, that might not be, get talked about in the media elsewhere, mainstream or independent. So on today's episode of the show, let me bring us up on the feed here. Here we go. On today's episode of the show, we're going to be talking with Usama, a regular listener of the show. If you catch the second half of the program when I take calls, not the freebie podcast version, the live stream show, the part that's just for, subscribers, patron subscribers. Usama is a regular caller there, and he's also known online as EagleLeft. And we're going to discuss the oppression, human rights violations, and genocide of the Baloch in Pakistan. And first, I want to say, Usama, welcome to the show officially. And like I said, you're a regular caller, but this is the first time you're an official guest on the show. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Matt. And hello, everyone.
Now,
some of you,
No, go ahead.
You can
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just saying, some of you who watch, who stick around, probably see me in the comments. I like the live chat as well.
Right. It's, you call in and you have these, these very educational, updates to bring us. But I feel like I'm missing, and so is the rest of the audience, we're missing the basics of this issue. And we discussed, actually, as we were setting this episode up, you sent me tons of links, and just before we went live, we were talking a little bit about it. And this is like an undercovered issue, period. Like, it's not like, oh, this is something the mainstream is missing. This is something that even like, you sent me a single documentary you were able to find from Al Jazeera. I'm not saying there's nothing else out there, but that's the one you were able to find. A documentary from Al Jazeera from over 10 years ago. And then I came across a number of articles on websites that, are they a good source? I wasn't finding much about the outlets, and that's probably, a mix of both. Probably some of these are good sources, but, this is not, they just don't have, the outlet itself just doesn't have the, the traditional, even independent help pushing out their name. And maybe some of it's not so trustworthy. So, I think you, however, have an experience that, it's hard to argue with. Obviously, your experience is going to have, I guess you can say a bias based on, this background, but it's an important expertise and background to have. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about, why this issue is something that you wanted to come on this show and talk about? Like, what's your background that connects you to what's going on to the Baloch in Pakistan?
So I'm a Baloch myself. I've lived in the capital of Balochistan. I was born there and lived there for, I think, 17 years of my life, the first 17 years before coming to the West to study, basically.
Right. And you're still a family there, I'm assuming?
Yes, I have family there. Like it's my home. Like when uh, I don't, if I can, I try to return as much as possible. Like I don't, yeah, I have friends there, childhood friends. I have family there. Of course, my people are there, most of them. So yeah, I'll always have connection to that place in some
Right.
way or form.
And can you explain to people where is the region that Baloch you're from, Balochistan? Because I feel like a lot of people weren't even. Maybe I'm just talking for myself. Maybe it's just me and everyone else knows about the Baloch. But I mean, I don't think that's the case. So I'm really rewinding here for everyone tuning in. I mean, you all know me. I do this
Yes.
for even the most basic. The last episode of this show was on Steven Crowder, the right wing influencer, and I rewound it all the way to who he was in the beginning of his career. So,
Yeah.
I'm doing this here, especially because I think people who listen to the show are probably even less familiar with this topic.
Yeah. So they're a small tribe, I guess, in that originated somewhere in Persia, most likely, but even that's disputed. And they migrated to what's now the eastern part of Iran and the western, southwestern part of Pakistan and some parts of Afghanistan. And they, whoever the locals were, they basically just all became a super group. So the tribal system of the Baloch was such they just incorporated people into them. So there's even dispute on who are the original members who aren't. And then they settled in this region. Uh, I don't even know, like at least 1,000 years ago. And I guess the major historical thing that happened was there was a small kingdom developed here in the 1600s called the Khanate of Kalat. Kalat is like a region in Balochistan, and Khanate, if you know that those areas, just means like Khan just means a ruler. So Khanate of Kalat is like a rulership of Kalat. And that was when like that was the status quo, sort of. Most of that area that contained the Baloch was under this Khanate. And then the British came, and uh, they're uh, like they took over the rest of British India and parts of other parts of the globe. They eventually incorporated it into like their own principality, and that was the norm all the way up to the formation of India and Pakistan in 1947. So historically, even though there was trade and interaction between what we consider India now and that region, the subcontinent, historically Balochistan wasn't even uh, connected to that. But when the independence of both countries happened, the British didn't give a choice to like the smaller regions of just being independent. They were like either join India or Pakistan. And the Baloch essentially said that we're not part of this entire thing. We're separate, so we want a separate state. And initially they agreed. So from August 1947 to March 1948, it was an independent thing. Uh, but then the Pakistani military sort of kidnapped the leader and strong armed the rest of the leadership into what's the word, secession, so seceding to Pakistan.
Right.
Yeah, so they had a tribal system where there was one leader, but then there was a council. It wasn't democratic, but they kidnapped the leader, the Khan, and forced the council to sign this secession letter. And that's when it became part of Pakistan in March 1948.
Got it. I know part of the region is also what now in like a part of the Balochistan region is in Afghanistan too, right? And another country, right? It's India, right?
Yeah,
Or
no,
right?
Iran.
Iran. I'm sorry.
So the east of Iran, it's a province called Sistan and Balochistan. There are other people as well, but a lot of it is just the Baloch. And then a very small part in Afghanistan, like a, it's just a small sliver in the southeast, and then the southwest of Pakistan. Basically, from the Indian Ocean, the shores, up to like the central part in the south of Pakistan.
Got it. But then the vast majority of the Balochistan region is in Pakistan.
I would say, yeah, most of it is in Pakistan, but also a big chunk in Iran, and then a small part in Afghanistan.
Got it. Got it. And so I'm assuming once Pakistan becomes Pakistan, things sort of there's a system of, I guess, people thinking they're better than others. Is that how it really you sort of see the same sort of
Um,
thing, I guess, with
yeah, so
Israel and the Palestinians, right? I mean,
um, it was, I guess, kind of a mix of that, but also when Pakistan started, since it was a new state, uh, the and it was right next to a country that it just separated from, so there were fears of maybe India trying to regain Pakistan again. They pumped a lot of resources into their army, whatever little they had. Plus, initially, the leadership of the army were the same British people who were not the same, but some of them, I mean, ruling over that region. So the way they taught the leadership that was to be, was in a more colonial manner of how to deal with people. So they were given more resources and they were taught in a way that that's more colonial. And population wise, we were a smaller people, and the center was in Punjab. And that was like, those are the second most populous people, but then the first ones were the Bengalis, which are on the other side of India. So, like Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh. So,
right.
they were, that was the power center that had the most resources. It was it was sort of the most developed as well, with Karachi, which is the coastal city that was also developed. And it had most of the people in that part of Pakistan, the west part of Pakistan. And the colonial mindset and the resources going into the military.
Right.
Yeah, their only solution was with a gun and oppressing people.
It's amazing to me how many of the world's issues throughout history go right back to the old British Empire.
I mean, if
Oh
you're
my, yeah.
looking at most of Asia, that's just how it is. Like, why
Yeah.
is China the way it is today? A lot of it's got to do with the century of humiliation, and that's got to do with what the British did.
I'm looking at the Brits right now. I'm going, you what, mate? Well, that was a little bit Australian. That was a little bit
Yeah.
Australian. I'll,
Uh,
I'll have to
even
I'll
the
have to reconfigure and come back to that.
That's not related, but even the a lot of the identity problems in India, which is with the people who say they're Hindu, but that's more complicated. That's a side topic. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so uh, there were people who didn't want to be part of Pakistan, and then there were people who were taught to uh, just deal with any issue by stomping out any protest, because that's how the British dealt with every region basically when they ruled. And Pakistan was like unstable because it's a new place. They don't have any resources, no major power supporting them. And it even took like, I think, uh, 30, no, 20, 23 years to get the proper constitution that we have today. So, so a lot of like military leaders came, a lot of insurgencies of like s- sort of like, they call them terrorists, but freedom fighters, whatever you want to call them. That's happened throughout. Like there's been, I think, five prominent ones that have happened. And uh, anytime like the any insurgency happens, of course the country and its military is going to be more powerful, and they killed it. So that's why it's happened. It happened. It ended. It happened and ended. And the latest one was in the start of the 2000s when a new dictator took over, called Pervez Musharraf. And during that, they had like a very popular leader as well, who was sort of politically, who was sort of challenging Pervez Musharraf, called Akbar Bhukti, who was like a tribal leader as well, called they call them we call them Nawabs, who are the like leaders of the sub tribes of each Baloch tribe. And Musharraf basically killed him in 2005, I believe. Uh, uh, and that caused like a lot of unrest. There was a curfew for 2 or 3 weeks right after the killing, and that led to like this new insurgency where we have this thing called the Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, and they've been fighting with the military for in the 21st century basically. And I guess a consequence of that is that the there are military checkposts all throughout the province. It's very sparsely populated, but wherever there are people, there are military checkposts. Anyone suspected of supporting the BLA, they're like basically abducted, or there are a lot of missing people who we don't know what's happened to them. Are they even alive or not? Uh, and that's sort of been the current state. The other side is that activists are also abducted. Journalists are too scared to go in, which is why we don't have a lot of like what's the like uh, we don't have a lot of verifiable information. There isn't a proper internet infrastructure, so the reports from the people themselves, it's hard to get out. And there are different aspects of it, like of course from this sort of strict hardline thing to more of how people are oppressed in general, like poverty wise,
Is it a
infrastructure
situ?
wise.
Before I do want to get to everything you're about to get into, but is it like a situ?
Yes.
You know, I brought up before. You know, the Israel Palestine, and is it like that where the region is treated like a, you know, like a apartheid, like, you know, type situation?
I would say it's more of like a colonial situation, like think old school colony basically, but it's the same country instead of it being like some other place, like sort of
Is it as
how the
hard? Is it as
British.
hard to get in and out like as it is to like get in and out of, I guess, like
No,
Gaza? No. Okay.
no. So think of it. That's why I'm saying it's like a colony. Like the Britishers took resources from India and gave very little back, and but the people individually could go, like there were some Indians who went to the other place, got education and stuff like that. So there isn't anywhere where you're just closed off or like restricted from the outside world.
And human rights in organizations and aid could get in and out without issue, unlike in if needed, unlike in Gaza, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's more of an
I hate to
infrastructure issue.
compare the two, but I think that's the
Yes.
asymmetry that I think most people would be, I guess,
Yeah, that's
sort of
why
similar with.
I'm trying to compare it to an old, I guess, colony
Right.
instead, because
Like
there
they
are
have
other
no
places which are
representation.
more. Yeah.
They have no representation. They're treated like, I guess, like what, like second class citizens.
Yeah. So on paper there are elections, but and it's hard to verify again because of like transparency and everything. But most people suspect that every election that we have is pre-planned. Like if there were actually fair elections, the results would be different.
Right. Now,
So yeah. Another problem when you talked about aid was it's more of a problem of like infrastructure, because uh, there are very few roads and a lot of remote locations.
right. Now, does is there like a how do I put this? Is there like a situation where so basically it's like a whole region that's being ignored by the government of Pakistan, and they don't get the resources they need. I'm assuming, even like you said, roads. These are issues that, being that they are under this country's, they're not a country of their own. They depend on the government of Pakistan to provide resources for them. It's their representation, even though you mentioned just now it's not a fair representation, because they really, like you said, if they were able to elect who they wanted, we wouldn't have the people who are in office right now. It's is it literally just because of this old mentality that this is a these people are others?
Um, I think it's more of um, like they want like the actual core of the problem is the military, and the government ignores it while the military exacerbates the issue.
What you
Uh,
mean the military is deployed in this region?
that's what, yeah, there are like military checkposts all over the place. There
Right.
are
Okay.
paramilitary groups that are supposed to like functionally do something else. Like there are border agencies that are supposed to be at the border, but they're scattered throughout the province. And they are like if you're going somewhere, you're going to see a lot of them. They might question you and harass you, and they're like I guess the main problem is that uh, the Pakistani identity isn't like a thing, right? So it's all regional stuff, and this province are like specifically are the most problematic. Like they're the troublemakers because they do not uh, like accept their place uh, in that system. Also, like they don't care enough. I don't think the military cares about any specific people. Like they just want their own to prosper. It's that they're because they handle a lot of business as well in Pakistan. So I think they just want themselves to get wealth and be powerful. And Balochistan, mineral wise and resource wise, is very rich. So
Right. So that now we're getting to okay. Yes, we're starting to understand a little bit more. I think here now that we're getting to this part. So I'm guessing that these the reason I guess it's like this in certain ways is because Pakistan, I guess, wants control over these resources and knowing exactly where everything's going, and probably why the military has these checkpoints all over in this region that, like you said, isn't very well developed otherwise. You even said there's not much like it's not like there are, um, you know. Much like there's no like power, like I'm sure there are some, but Baloch doesn't really have like a fighting chance, right? With like is there much of a paramilitary or any sort
Yeah, I
of, I
mean,
guess,
like
would be considered like
uh,
a terrorist quote unquote organization?
they say that's what the BLA technically is, but I don't think they can achieve much. They're doing it, but there's a lot of bad ideas in that as well. But that's usually what happens with, I guess, freedom movements in general, with like
Right.
the more militant types. And the comparison, it's so Pakistan is like the fifth or sixth most populous country, 220 million plus people, and out of them, I think not even 20 million. I think it's around 15 million or something are in Balochistan. So you can see like how
And even
small of a
less,
country.
even less, I assume, are ethnic Baloch. This is
Yeah,
just
there are
people
some
in
other
that
people.
region. Yeah.
Yeah, and but 45% or something of the land area of Pakistan is Balochistan. So you have this huge place where no one really lives, and which can be serviced by, like, I guess, three or four big cities and that have proper facilities. But they, of course, they do take the resources. A comical example is there's this city, not city, I guess, a small village called Sui. And near that, they found like really rich gas lines that have been supplying Pakistan with gas for the last 40 or so years. And there are gas pipes that go from this particular place to like Punjab and all these other places. And they're like, even like smaller villages there have some gas, not all of them, but some places like that. But for Balochistan, the only place that gets that gas is Quetta, which is the capital. And even that is a weird way, like it's like there's two cities, Quetta and Karachi, and in between them almost is this place, Sui. The pipe goes to Karachi and then comes back to Quetta. So even from there, it doesn't directly go to the capital, and that's the only proper gas line there is in the entire province. Most of the fuel needs are serviced by illegal imports from Iran, which, of course, in a remote region like that, the borders are going to be lax. Uh, Similarly, of course, electricity is a big issue. Water is a big issue. It's a dry region, so getting proper, like building proper water collection dams, like from rains and stuff, because there aren't any rivers. The resources aren't given to that. Uh, and another thing they get is a lot of copper and gold. They've given out contracts to
Mm.
foreign companies, and then because they don't have the machinery themselves to take it out, they get a small cut, and these companies get like uh, uh, very cheap copper or gold. Uh, so it's a good deal for them, and the locals get nothing from that. Some corrupt people in that region that are ruling do, but on the side. But that's yeah, it's basic exploitation.
Right, right. No, let's actually get into a little bit more of, you just mentioned basic exploitation. Let's get a little bit further into that, and I guess, like, a lot of what you mentioned all wraps up into this. But let's talk a little bit more about the human rights violations in the the more, I guess, overt oppression. I guess you can say that many areas, I guess, have people who feel like they're not politically represented, or hell, you could probably find people in the U.S. who can bring up that, and also legitimately bring up grievances about their region or area not being developed or taken care of, crumbling infrastructure. You can find that all over the place. But I think what we see here obviously is a little bit more in line with real sort of issues when it comes to overt human rights violations and just oppression. Frankly, I saw the usage of the term genocide, and it seems like it could fit for sure. From what you've been explaining here and what we're about to get into. Can you explain a little bit more about what's been going on to the Baloch people in terms of their human rights being violated in Pakistan?
Uh, yeah, so I mentioned the militant groups, and the other side, of course, would be activists who are just politically trying to get awareness for this issue and trying to solve, like, get a diplomatic solution, I guess, or political solution in a way. And uh, they don't really tolerate that. So if you speak up too much about that, uh, you can be abducted, and that's where the problem of like missing people gets in, and or your family could even be abducted. And a lot of people, this isn't reported as well. A lot of it comes to people through word of mouth. Even you find like these bodies with chopped up pieces of a human body chopped into pieces, and in like these uh,
Just like
bags and thrown in like
assassinations,
yeah,
extrajudicial
extrajudicial
killings.
killing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like they've burned smaller villages that were didn't like if the people did something there that they didn't like, and basically stuff like that. And because of such a large military presence, it's and they don't care who they do it to. Even reporters are afraid of even going there to confirm anything. So if they hear something, then and they might even get like a verification somehow. They won't write an article or talk about it on news if they're on like some national news, like they're a broadcaster or something. They won't even write online articles, or they have YouTube channels. They won't mention it. Like uh, right now,
Who carries these out? We're saying, is it the military, or what's going on? Do we? I mean, obviously, I'm sure a lot of it's a mystery. We're gonna get into a very specific case too that I think probably is one of the only mainstream cases I've really seen that got some mainstream coverage. But who is doing this? Do we have any idea?
so in terms of a confirmation, it's hard to get any because there isn't like any investigative journalism done.
But
But
this is
the
happening. This
pattern,
is this is this is happening. This is like there's a pattern here, right? Like this isn't like
oh yeah,
someone someone died. This is
yeah,
a pattern of uh, activists in the region being
yes,
going missing or turning up dead.
activists or families of activists. Like it could be like a father or like like a child, or it could be a brother or sister. And yeah, ostensibly the pattern is usually they're related to some activist, and they like there are, I think, uh, thousands of people who are just missing. So you don't even know, like, are they dead, are they not, are they uh, being tortured, are they not? And the assumption is usually like either the military itself or paramilitary groups that are like um, uh, uh, I don't think they're like private contractors like they have in the US, but they're like different from the military and trained in their own ways. And some of them can be worse than the military, and they can do stuff that the military doesn't do. There's one particular one is called. It's supposed to be a border agency, but it's operates all throughout Balochistan. Is the why am I blanking out on the name now?
No, don't worry about it.
Wait, I can search it up. Border military. I'm I blanked out on the. I've heard this name so many times, but oh yeah, the FC, which are called the Frontier Corps. So
Okay.
they're the they're called the Frontier Corps. They're supposed to be at the borders, but they're all over, and the assumption is either them or like even the intelligence agency, which is called the ISI. It's kind of like the CIA of Pakistan. Uh, and the problem is with verifying anything because, again, like no local reporter tries to cover it, and I guess internationally there aren't any prominent reporters that have been like that whose eye this has issue has caused caught or something. So they've largely been able to get away with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the prominent example you mentioned was of
Let's
someone
get
who,
to this because this is an
yes.
interesting one. I just want to set it up for people. Because this is a story that to me I remember. I feel like I remember seeing this, but I just saw it in passing. This was a few years ago, but it's still an ongoing mystery, really. But just to show you, I guess how serious this is. This is a it really became like an internationally known human rights activist in Baloch, excuse me, and uh, she was no longer living in Pakistan. She
No.
was granted asylum in living in exile in Canada, and this issue is so far-reaching. She apparently wasn't even safe in Canada. Please tell us more, Usama, about this activist.
So
What was
yeah,
her name? Let's start there.
Karima Baloch, and she'd been speaking out uh, about the issue of the missing people and the like basic injustices in Balochistan, and she was like even during her college years, she was like a student organizer, and of course, due to fears of being killed or abducted or all those other things, she sought asylum in Canada and was uh, living there. I think she was like in her mid 30s, and in at the end of 2021, she mysteriously, like for a few days, disappeared, and then was just found dead in a lake.
End of 2020. Just want to be clear with the timeline.
Is it end of 2020 or 2021?
This article from The Guardian is from December 2020.
Okay, yeah, 2020, yeah.
Right, it's confusing because this is an ongoing thing. They still there was an article in a Canadian independent media that you had sent me from just earlier this year about how there's still questions surrounding her death and it remains a mystery of
Yeah.
what exactly happened. In fact, CBC Radio had a podcast called The Kill List. This is from that article in New Canadian Media. A CBC radio podcast called The Kill List reported that Pakistani authorities warned Karima's family to send her back from Canada. Otherwise, her uncle would be killed. Karima's family didn't agree to send her back, fearing she would die in a torture cell. The day Karima was found in the lake, a Pakistani businessman who had connections with the military and government reportedly tweeted a list of names of Pakistani descendants abroad and wrote, Karima done. But he soon removed his tweet. I mean, jeez.
Yeah. The other weird thing is the Canadians, the RCMP, the Canadian police, just said it's a suicide, and then when reporters ask for like the info and the reports, that's still not been given. So they just quickly declared it a suicide, and then nothing, and and reporters haven't gotten any info from them either. So like if it was actually a suicide, and reporters could have gotten those reports and looked at it, but the family who was with her said she wasn't suicidal, and she was more I guess motivated survival instead of like to continue her activism, but from Canada. She was motivated to do that, but why would she just randomly kill herself after being gone for a few days?
I mean, she upended her life and was moved across the other side of the world to
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense that you would do that and then just give like just I'm done. Doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah. And she was prominent enough to be featured in the BBC as well in 2016. So of course he was well known as well. I'm not sure, like
that's
I still
the sort of
I
like
still don't get the Canadian angle. Like why Canada's being so secretive? That's the weird part to me.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's right. I mean, we should probably look more into this specific case because this is, this becomes more like, I guess, a sort of a true crime mystery on this specific case. But I mean, it is incredible to me that like I mean, it seems obvious that the reason this case even got any attention was because of her moving to Canada, and that's being that's where she died. If she had been killed in Baloch, for example, probably the rest of
But
the world would have never heard
yeah,
about this case. She
the
would have
area
been
is
just
called
another.
Balochistan. Just
Yeah.
the correction. But yeah, and this wasn't even the first one, because a journalist in Sweden just was found dead in a river as well, after he had sought asylum due to threats in his life to his life in Pakistan, and he used to report on human rights violations in Balochistan.
Jeez.
And that was back then. So yeah, and they the same thing where they're like, she was found in a lake, he was found near a river, like a riverbank, and they both were ruled suicides, and then that's it. Nothing came of it after that.
I mean, this is, and again, how many other Karimas are out there that we just haven't heard about? I mean, we could talk about in oppressed region people, people who are oppressed around the world, but even just specifically in Balochistan, the Balochi region, excuse me. So what would be like I mean, obviously it seems like the issue is nowhere near a point where there's going to be any concessions made, obviously. But what
Yes.
are the Baloch looking for? What would be a win for them? In terms, like, do they want do they want that region to be its own country, or do they just want to be, not exploited anymore? I mean, well,
So
it seems like that wouldn't be too much of an ask, but
yeah,
but so
there
what
are
what is the yeah
there are
the demands?
yeah, there are of course, like, the militant groups want complete separation and independence, and they want the same from Iran, so they could make like a larger Balochistan that's united. Then there are like people who want to do it peacefully, in some sort of amicable way. There are some people who want like a special uh, autonomy, sort of like Quebec has with Canada. And there are also others who generally want to like, because a solution in the issue with the Baloch people is sort of related to a solution that Pakistan needs for its own democracy as well. So that's another uh, avenue to which some activists and some like Baloch people look to as well. So I guess the autonomy part I would sort of agree with. Personally, that's where I go towards as well, because creating an independent state and then getting it from Iran and making it united is uh, more impractical, and just even a free Pakistani Balochistan, that side. It's only like so few people, and we know what happens to like South. It's more South Asian than Middle Eastern, but we know what happens to small Middle Eastern countries who are unprotected and have these populations. So I don't want. I personally think the best solution is to get the military out of Pakistani politics and to limit their power. So if if the political core could be strengthened, then uh, you could work with you could work with them to remove the military from these different areas and to have better protections. Uh, because they're not being genocided, but Pakistan's democracy is always at the whims of the military. They call it a hybrid regime, which is just a fancy way to say that the military in the end decides everything in some way. And they manufacture these political leaders as well that are gonna be gonna be like their puppets, and their engineering sort of is causing a huge economic crisis in Pakistan right now as well, because in 2017 they politically engineered a leader of like an untested leader of a new political party, and they just basically, along with COVID as well, they didn't know how to run the economy of the region, and uh, they destroyed the entire economy of Pakistan. So they keep doing these experiments. So I think the solution itself is one that Pakistan needs, not just Balochistan, personally. But others feel they should be independent, and they don't want anything to do with Pakistan.
Right.
That's the range, basically.
How do you? Because you don't live there anymore. But like you said, you have family there. How do you keep up with what's going on in there? Like you said, there's a real lack of credible outlets sort of covering the region and what's going on. Is it just through family or
So I guess it's yeah, it's family, and then like you said, there's smaller outlets that you can't verify, but when reading stuff, I can uh, sort of understand like, okay, this looks realistic, but this is too out there type of thing. And like I sent you links from an outlet called Balochistan Voices, I think,
okay?
where some of their stories are correct. Largely, though, it's an information vacuum, so I don't know the particulars. Uh,
Right.
like
I'm looking at this.
I'll make this
Yeah, go ahead.
just for like clarity. People in Punjab, which is like another province in Pakistan, most of them don't know what's happening in Balochistan. So it's
Right.
not just a West thing.
Yeah, I'm reading this. According to estimates of poverty carried out by the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics in May of 2020, nearly 41% of households in Balochistan live below the income poverty line, accounting for approximately 11% of the total poor households in the country. And then there was another stat you sent me um, about education. Um, out of the 2.7 million children in Balochistan, 1.9 million children, that's, geez, way more than half. It's maybe even two-thirds. 1.9 million children do not go to school. According to various survey reports, the literacy rate among boys in most districts of Balochistan is 28.66%. Roughly 72% of boys do not go to school. 83% of girls deprived of basic education. Um, this this
Yeah.
all this all adds up probably as to probably part of the reason why there's not more out there in terms of what's going on there. People without the education or even time to spend, either doing activism or citizen journalism or any of that. You sent me another article from
Or the internet or electricity. So
that too, right? Of course.
yeah,
You sent another article. Yeah, I was about to get to that, but great, about energy poverty in Balochistan. Um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even seem like it's not even just like a internet issue. It's like you said, electricity issue. Um, 85% of the population in some areas of Balochistan are not even linked with the national grid systems. Jeez. Um, but then you sent me this other article about this is just 2 months ago at a press conference. The Baloch Solidarity Committee. More than 43 people were forcibly disappeared this month, while the mutilated bodies of more than 6 people were recovered. Again, I had this article up before, but we moved on from it, and I really wanted to bring it up to stress the fact that when we spend a lot of time talking about that Pakistan Baloch activist who was exiled in Canada, and obviously her story is super important and discouraging and angering and sad. But it's important to also realize this is not an anomaly. I think when we were talking about it, I don't think people were expecting that every month 43 people disappear and half a dozen people are found dead. Like this is that's not like a normal.
it's a list of like thousands that are missing that we don't know what happened to.
Right.
And yeah.
So
I think what
no, go ahead.
what pushes it to people would be wondering is genocide per se is why some people would call it a genocide is because mostly when people think genocide they think mass killing like what Hitler was doing or something like that.
Right.
But a lot of the times it's not that flashy. It's because it's the entire process of trying to remove someone's identity itself. So it doesn't have to just be killing. It can include displacing people or erasing their identity, like their ethnic, cultural, whatever signifier as well. Like, uh, like for example, in this is comparable to Israel, where Israeli people don't even call the Palestinian people Palestinian, they call them Arabs because they ultimately want to remove the Palestinian identity altogether. They refuse to acknowledge it. And similarly, I think what the military wants is for the people to abandon their Baloch identity and to embrace like a new made up like Pakistani identity. Uh, it's easier to control people with nationalism, so that helps them
Right.
too.
Right. So what can people do here? Like, let's say, you're learning more about this issue. You want to be a little bit more aware, and what can people do to help? Um, Obviously, this seems like it's going to take a lot more than like a bunch of people getting together, and this is something that's going to need to be solved on the ground over there. But for people over here, they can certainly help spread the word about what's going on to begin with. Like, how would you, as a Baloch person, living in the West, what would you like to see people do to help the
Um,
Baloch in Pakistan?
so I just like I want every oppressed group would want this is uh, to be like people to talk and spread it to such an extent where when you mention it to, for example, like any Western diplomat, uh, everyone immediately knows what you're talking about. Like the same with like the Uyghur issue in China, or the Rohingya issue in Myanmar, or the Kashmir issue in India, or the Palestinian issue in that region, or the Kurdish issue in Turkey and Syria. Like when I say Kurd now, or Kurd, or however you pronounce it, the people understand what I'm talking about. Not everyone, but like the politically engaged people. And when you talk to like, for example, if you talk to a U.S. senator about it, they'll know what you're talking about. And and right now it's not like it's a blackout of any info. So if more people internationally support and talk about it, spread it to other people who don't know, who are actually politically active, so they would be interested in knowing this stuff in general. Then it could become ubiquitous. And when so many international people know about this, the army can't do anything about people talking, like they can't hurt other citizens in that same way. So as I said, they're like only a fraction of the population, and alone, we can't really do much. So ideally, like international and local support, like in Pakistan itself, which is uh, of course not through this avenue, but that would be through the avenue over there. Uh, then, if anything happens, we can just point to it and not have to go through the entire history and try to explain all these complex things. So I think uh, that is what you can do with this information itself. Uh, I think that is the best view right now. Uh, like any activism can't really happen, I feel like, right now, because no one really knows much about the issue in the West. So
Right.
spreading it, maybe someone else who's more like who's actually an activist or something reads this info and then can be contacted with someone who has even more visibility, could then talk to, and basically something like that. I would prefer that to happen.
Right. Well, Usama, this has been very interesting, very educational for me. And before we end, I want to make sure we touched upon everything. Was there anything else you wanted to mention that we didn't get to that you think is important to mention here?
Um, Not that I can think of regarding
So I hit it out
the
of the
particular
park.
case of the
Perfect
Baloch,
episode. I love it.
but I wanted to say if there are, it's hard to know on your own. So
Right.
there are probably other people internationally who watch. So if there are other groups of course, there's a lot of groups in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, that we can know and learn about, that maybe need more visibilities. Maybe they could contact you or talk about their issue as well, or contact other people. They should.
Usama, is there any links, social media handles, anything you want to share, whether it's about this specific issue or your own personal accounts people could follow you, where I'm sure you talk about this and a number of other things. Whatever you want to share, promote, the floor is yours. Feel free right now if you'd like.
Uh, uh, the I'm like I have a bad memory, so I can't think of any like specific accounts that talk about this.
Well, it could
But
be
you
about
can
just yours
follow.
in
Yeah,
general. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You can follow me. I'm EagleLeft basically everywhere. Uh, and whenever I stream, I don't think it's about that. I talk about a lot of things, and it's mostly for my own enjoyment, so it won't be anything serious. But I do talk about politics sometimes as well. And I'm EagleLeft on Twitter, Threads, whatever. I also have a website, eagleleft.com, which is for my streaming, but I don't stream a lot, so it's not used a lot. But that's about it.
Well, this was a fantastic episode. I'm so glad we got to do this. I learned. I think the audience. I see people in the live chat. When I do these episodes, basically every YouTuber who does politics knows that when you're doing an episode on international politics, it's not gonna be a sold out crowd of 500 concurrent live. It's the same thing like we talk about on Leftist Mafia on Thursdays with David Dole of Rational National and Mike Figueredo of Humanist Report. When they do a climate change video, they're fully prepared for the audience to not be anywhere near their videos on like this is what Trump just did at the latest rally. It's just how it is. But we do these videos and we do these interviews because they're important. And obviously, who cares how many people watch? I've always been under, maybe it comes from my punk rock band days, where the ethos was you play just as hard whether you're playing in front of 500 people or whether you're playing in front of 5 people. Whatever the turnout is, you don't pay attention to that because it doesn't matter. You don't know who those people there matter just as much, and the people who watch this episode fully are going to take this, and that's however many watched. That's that many more who are now aware of this issue. So, Usama, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Maybe I could also give a summarized version on a leftist mafia sometime so their audience knows. And
Yes, we will set that up. Let's set that up.
yeah,
Let's wait a little bit for this episode to have some
yeah,
get some
yeah, of course.
traction. And then down when just when people have already everyone who wanted to view this episode viewed it, we'll hit them again with this so they definitely catch it if they didn't the first time.
Another another thing would be an episode, but it's about wrestling and Vince McMahon's life.
Hey, you don't gotta convince me on that one. That's they're a big day for that. We'll talk about this another day. Have a great
Of
night,
course.
Usama. Take care.
Yes, have a good one. Bye.
Bye. And I'm going to miss Usama's phone call in the second half of the show because obviously he's not going to call in the second half, I assume, because he's already given us over an hour of his time. Folks, we are going to go to the second half of this show where you can call in. I'll give you all that information in just a second. First, a few things that I need to promote. And of course, the most important is patreon.com/MattBinder to support this show. Keep it growing. Keep it going. And really, we're at the point where I said I'm going to get an editor. I'm going to be reaching out to, I wanted to give people about a week or so to reach out because I made another call yesterday, like an official call to, and some people reached out. I'm going to be looking through people's stuff. I'm going to be putting the phone call system on mute for a second so the calls aren't in my ear while I'm doing this. But you know, the Patreon subscribers will help me fund the things I need to do to grow this show. So if you can, go to patreon.com/MattBinder and become a paying monthly subscriber. The people who've done that over this past week since the last episode of the show are Thrulo, Michael J, Christine T, Mac M, and Michael B. Thank you all so much for becoming patrons at patreon.com/MattBinder. And if YouTube's more your thing, I get a little bit less of a cut from YouTube, but a member is a member. And people seem to like using, you know, the hardcore YouTube audience seems to like the live stream viewers because they get the emojis in the chat. They seem to like it. So let me shout out the people who became YouTube members since the last show. Jason Z, Ryan Lennon fan. Some of these are rejoins too. They don't. They all show up in the same place. Venetia D, David, Bob Dabolina, Gen X Uncle Key, Tokyo Hans, Vicky Klee, Christopher Hill, Alan Hill, Ari Ree, Dragons Marine, V McKim, and Gypsy Mama. Thank you all so much for becoming YouTube subscribers, members, not subscribers, members, paid YouTube members at youtube.com/MattBinder. And, the Twitch folks over at twitch.tv/MattBinder. If you have an Amazon Prime account, if you're paying for Amazon Prime, you need to connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Because when you do that, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. That's a free for you paid subscription to one of your favorite creators on Twitch. They get paid at no extra cost to you, thus ensuring Amazon keeps less of your money. I mean, that's just a win. If you're paying for Amazon Prime, it's ridiculous if you're not doing this. And the people who are Twitch members are, let's go over, Woke Sky, subscribed for 6 months at tier 1. Thank you so much, Woke Sky. D-Bags, Chaggy, subscribe with Prime. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's twitch.tv/MattBinder. And now we will go to the second half of the show, where you can call in, open up Skype, search Doomed Live, and you'll be able to call in. Give me just a minute. All you live stream viewers and Patreon subscribers, because I will be taking just a short break for all of you. But for the people listening to the free podcast version of this show on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, on Spotify, you should be leaving reviews there if you don't and haven't already. To you, this is where I say, I'll see you next time on Doomed.
Ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, education masses, rampant homophobia, harmless sex.
We got our first caller. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing, my friend? What are we going to talk about today? I don't think you are exactly what you claim you are. I would say you're a conservative. What makes you a liberal?
I'm pro-Green New Deal. Are you? Yes, really, absolutely.
No, I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some
Yeah,
of the things in the
for-
Green New Deal.
You mean like free college for black people?
We are back on the show. Let me put myself up back on the feed. Here I am. Whoa, what's going on here? Oh, all right. We already got calls. Let's take them. That's why that Skype logo is showing up. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee. I'm not gonna do a funny voice this time. So
Hey, Renee. Yeah,
on,
I think we want to hear from
video.
Renee. I think we do want to hear
Yeah.
from Renee. You know?
The real Renee, right?
Yeah. We want to hear
Speaking
from
of
Renee.
voices, and well, I already have this voice. It's the same voice, so it's like all of them live inside of me. So it's like talking to Elon, Gorkula, and
How you doing, Renee?
Uncle Adi. Anyway, yeah, Dave from Jamaica, David Russell. You have a great voice. Don't worry about it. You should work on radio. And, and if anything, I mean, Tim Pool comes out terribly. And I also did like sound effects on Matt's voice too, and that editing of the song. So in comparison, you sound fairly civilian. Yeah, I wanted to call about Lanceta was asking me to talk about like the situation in South America. So Salam, Lanceta, Merhaba. Basically, sort of kind of like the same thing with Usama. It's been like 50 years since the coup d'etat in Chile. You saw that Majority Report had a kind of like a special about it.
Right.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And this time there's no like Renee Angle, except like any bad takes or whatever. Yeah, basically, I was like of the opinion. I mean, a lot of things have happened because you probably have heard of like there was like a committee of quote unquote well, as a leftist, I mean progressives visiting from the DSA visiting Chile. I think there was like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that met with the darling of the band Desaparecidos, uh, Camila Vallejo, and they were like they came to talk about, amongst other things, regarding releasing documents regarding the U.S. involvement of in the Chilean coup d'état, and of course any like human rights abuses, especially probably regarding people like Charles Hoffman, who was like an American that got shot in the same stadium as the musician Victor Hara as well. Um, yeah, there's also, of course, there's a subtext that we're actually like the prima donnas, not to be like an attention whore that I'm usually, but we were kind of like the belle of the ball because there's this whole thing about BRICS and this like splitting off like into the sphere of like Brazil and Argentina, trying to get off the dollar in order to um, try to create its own like economic like sphere with Russia and China. So yeah, the everybody was noticing like that was like the subtext, and the danger to us is like splitting us off from Argentina and Brazil. And there's been like a lot because it's like 50 years and all that. That's there's like a lot of ceremonies, a lot of like uh, besides the marches and remembrance, and there's kind of like a pledge for it never to happen again, sort of like the Germans with World War II. But a lot of it could like seem like empty rhetoric, especially from the right. That's kind of like in an awkward position whether or not uh, the civilian involvement, and of course, and the fact that it's very linked to left wing policies. I mean, Allende was not just a socialist; he had like a communist and other like probably seen. I mean, in the United States, it's still like prohibited. It's like a question when you're naturalizing, when you become a citizen, whether you've been a member of the Communist Party or something like that. So, as usual, I'm kind of like the cynic or the pessimist regarding this.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and to me, like a lot of people, like the dictatorship is kind of like an ongoing
Right.
process. I mean, there's like a lot of people that talk about like there was like David Adler, who's like the president of the Progressives, I think, in the United States, who was also visiting here in Chile, and he talked on a Chilean political show, and basically he was talking about like how like MLK gets like attributed the wrong things, and people try to like kind of like remove MLK with all nuance, especially on the side of the liberals and the GOP. And I think the same thing is happening to Allende, where he's kind of like codified as a kind of like just as a Democrat and not specifically what the main ideals of his government was, which was like a huge shift from what was happening, despite the fact that Chile back then had a lot of things that like free education and stuff like that that was completely erased by neoliberalism. So basically, the things that his alliance was seeking, which was a group of people, was like I think like land reforms, which was a continuation of what Kennedy was promoting and basically what our version of like the Kennedy Democrats were, who were the Christian Democrats, were also a party in Germany and Italy. Um, basically, we were promoting. So basically, we didn't have like the Civil War, the Reconstruction, sharecroppers, or anything like that. So in order to change that paradigm, there had to be like some sort of social upheaval in order to break that system of like these huge landowners and this like outmoded medieval concept that even goes back to the Romans of the latifundia. And the consideration is like these people that got tortured, killed, disappeared, and whatever that most of them are still being looked for and stuff like that. And like probably Anne can talk about like the ongoing process in Northern Ireland where the British want to like create like a sort of like tabula rasa on the basis of truth and reconciliation. If there's like any information about disappeared people, they'll like remove like any criminal charges. And the fact is like, well, if this is a segue, so she can talk about it. But in the same case, like in Chile, like anybody like perpetrating those stuff, it could be like seen as like some sort of like a blank slate or like a blank check, carte blanche. And yeah, basically these people that died because of their ideals and their plans for for a better future for Chile and expanding that to Latin America. And this was seen as like a threat to the United States, especially with Fidel Castro being visiting for over a month and stuff like that. You can imagine. And other cases that people don't explain is that the Democratic Party was also like involved in like subverting any any sort of like um, uh, push towards the left in Chile, and basically through the Christian Democrats and all that. Because Kennedy, like, and the Christian Democrats are based like on the probably in Catholic school. Did they teach you about like Rerum Novarum, like the whole thing about the doctrine in the Catholic Church, where they said like communism was like inherently evil, but at the same time they wanted to reform and change the things that like the current Pope wants to, but because he's a Peronista of like capitalism and all that. You're smiling. I don't see the comments though, but
Oh, you
um,
can't. Okay, no, I'm just no. I'm listening because You're much like Usama was on the Baloch in Pakistan.
Right, right.
You're telling me all about, yeah. I'm being educated this show. This is all, I don't who can tell me better about Chile than Renee, who is you born there, right? Born. I know you live there, but you're born there, right?
Right.
You're
And I
yeah.
was like, and I got myself out of the cult and stuff like that. Yeah. Why I left the right. Ha ha ha. Right. Yeah. Well, basically, I left the right. I had like friends that, I mean, not friends, classmates that would try to like educate me and tell me about what was going on, and I would go out and like meet people. But of course, my parents would like shut me down and say like you basically the common conception was you were too young back then. I'm 50 now, but I'm like the same age as like the anniversary. Wow, I just realized that. Yeah, so it was like you didn't experience what was happening before. So anything like even though it's like a concurring, like to put it like in kind of like I don't know, like it's kind of like a Harry Potter and the Horcruxes and stuff like that regarding like Voldemort. We kind of like the Horcruxes are still like in Chile regarding Pinochet and stuff like that, especially his constitution and his followers, and there's still like remnants. We still have like the militarized police and other things. So that's the other thing that people like kind of like don't understand, that kind of like there's kind of like the yeah the neoliberal left, and then there's like of course like anarchists. So shout out to all the anarchists there that are a bit more radical than bread tube, because they actually like it's a big stronger black box that they kind of like inherited like the whole like opposition towards the military dictatorship that groups like the Communist Party had with their own like armed struggle, but basically fighting against still what is like the dictatorship today, which is like an economic policy, social policy, basic bigotry regarding the poor. Because I think like one of the things like that guy that was talking about, which we kind of like joked about, like Jamie Guzman, um, as like an extreme Catholic, like Opus Dei and all that. He was kind of like he put in like that kind of like thought, like that kind of like bigotry, that being poor was like a sin or something like that you had to punish. Right. It's like, yeah, I could talk about like the kinds of tortures and stuff like that, and I didn't know that when I was like a kid. I mean, I couldn't like
Right.
a child can't well, a 12-year-old can't, or a 16-year can't really like. I mean, it's like beyond a horror movie. It's like now people are more desensitized because I don't movies like Hostel.
When did you first become when did it first hit you that you becoming aware of these things?
Like well, it was like comments by people and stuff like that. There were like books, and then in here in Santiago, there's like a commemorance, like a museum about torture and stuff like that. So there you can really be face to face with the metal bed frames. It would like electrocute people and stuff like that. And there was like always rumors about like throwing people out of helicopters. The thing with the dogs and stuff like that, like using animals to torture people, whether it's to tear them apart or to, well, yeah, we won't turn this episode into the dark web or anything like that, but basically that kind of stuff was like I had to gradually hear it from people and read about it. Oh, lately there's like kind of like a cart, like an animated film about it, where they explore the women that would like torture people with dogs and have like a special relationship and stuff like that. That's kind of like creepy, and between creepy and cute. Probably there's a Japanese word for it, where it's made with like with ceramic figurines and stuff like that, kind of like matryoshkas, and they kind of like try to inform people about his story. And well, there's that. Basically, that I think, as was commented, the dead need to be heard, despite these 50 years that they have been silent.
Right.
And solidarity to Usama from the global south. And basically, yeah, like try to see that there's like an ongoing process, and sometimes like there might be like violence and protests and stuff like that, just in the wake of George Floyd, because people are kind of like hitting a breaking point where all these like horcruxes of past bigotry need to be eliminated. So, and also that if there's going to be like some sort of like accountability or reconciliation, especially with the West, because I keep saying that kind of like what happened in Chile was kind of like the well, which is this whole like kind of like divide of like inherited from the Cold War and stuff like that. We were kind of like the Prague Spring of the West, regarding like us being like supposedly this kind of colony of the United States, and how we were shut down, our own revolution from this like foreign power. So there
Well,
has to be like also accountability regarding like responsibility also from the Democrats and like the political center as well.
well, Renee, I appreciate the call.
Right.
I very much um, appreciate you calling in, especially as Renee. No, but
Right.
also
It's kind
no,
of
I
it's
appreciate
kind
you.
of a relief.
I appreciate you calling, especially on this week on the 50th
Right.
anniversary, and sharing your thoughts. This has been
Yeah,
a
I wanted my friend the professor, but he's probably not good as like he's used to like calling on Zoom and stuff like that.
right. Well, if you have someone, I would love to do an episode on it. If you have someone you wanted to,
Right. I keep trying and stuff like that, especially in regards to Argentina. As a, to finalize and kind of like touch upon Argentina, basically this is kind of like a kind of like a new order, some people like that kind of like just like in the United States, like infuse like this new like life into this kind of like seizing back their power doctrine of like going back to the bad old days, but with a fresh start of like even more authoritarianism that's kind of like weird because it's kind of like paramilitary. They're not military themselves, but they were retired, but they want to like assume the power of the military and stuff like that. And we have to imagine that this is like on the backs of people that if you meet them on the street, like Pinochet or Videla, people like that are just sad, like pathetic old men and stuff like that. It was basically he was like a cartoon character. That's why I was saying like Jordan Peterson to me is like the Pinochet of Canada with his kind of like attitude and his voice and stuff like that. Pinochet was like the same kind of person. Um, just scary, I guess,
right.
unfortunately. Right. So Millet is like that kind of character as well, kind of like Bolsonaro and stuff like that. And Cast has like the from Chile has like the unfortunately the Nazi background that can make it like even more threatening. And also because his family was also involved in the tortures during the dictatorship. So he's probably a bit more than what I call Millet. Probably is going to like first like legalize like using um, animal print speedos on the street the way he looks like. He looks like kind of like a 70s villain, like one of those people, those black exploitation films that would be like the villain that probably a person like Jim Kelly or Shaft would like drop kick or something to make light of him as a person, like with his hair and stuff, and his sideburns and everything. But yeah, it's very scary because as it was with that empanada, the fact that there was this like populist kind of like fascism in Argentina, um, that also had like a very strong leftist element that managed to overtake it, or kind of like give their like ideology into it. This is kind of like a revenge against people, and as a revenge and stuff like that, it's really seeking to do harm.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
How,
This is me like on a dour note, I guess. Compared to,
no, I'm listening, and I mean, this Renee is a good Renee. Renee bringing
right,
the
the
full
sad
on.
Renee or the serious
No, I didn't say
Renee.
the sad Renee. The educator Renee, the teacher Renee, the professor Renee, Professor Renee, coming
Right.
at us.
I'm kind of like the professor and the class clown, all the same person. Okay. Good night.
Renee, always a pleasure. Especially no, really. This was great. Have a great night. All right, let's go back to the phones. A lot of people calling. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Are you talking to
Oh,
me?
I love that background. We got a beautiful honeybee on a flower.
Oh well, you've talked to me like 4 times before. I'm a photographer. That's my picture.
Is that your photo?
Yeah, I took that.
Oh my God, that's even better. I was being like, oh, what an interesting background photo. But now there's a story
I thought it'd
behind
be
it, and
funny-
you're.
Oh, I thought it'd be funny to pick my own picture for the background, but I didn't.
It would have been even better if you picked up if the second you came on, not only was that your background, but you were also wearing like a bee headband with like the feelers. That'd have been great.
Oh man, Matt, you're the coolest. So like I did like a really detailed what do you call it? Like a super like enhancing thing for the details of the pollen, so I could see every bit of pollen in that thing. So I didn't, I appreciate that you noticed it. That's really cool.
Well, I appreciate you appreciating me. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I got a thing to talk about. I mean, we talked about a few things before. I've called in a couple times. The most recent thing that is on my mind is that one, I talked to you right before I had a baby, and I have a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. His name is Miles. I love him.
Oh, beautiful name. I love it.
Yeah, he's great. He is fantastic. The other day, my wife got COVID.
Ooh.
And so I was like, what should I do? Because like I wanted to keep him safe, keep her safe, and so last minute, like this is like I had to work at 4 a.m. the next day, but I like drove him to her grandparents to like just kind of get him out of there, because I don't know what effect it has on the baby, but at the same time I'm like, well, is it worse to bring him to the grandparents? Like it's a really tough dilemma sometimes, like what's safest for everyone. Like they have had it for, I'm the only American in the world who has never had it, apparently. I've never.
No, there's a few people who haven't. I've heard of a few people not. But yeah, it seems like most people have had it.
It's been feeling very rare, I guess. I'm exaggerating, but yeah. So like I was like, oh, they've had it. Let's get him out of there. And so 2 days later, he has 101 fever and he's in the hospital. So I'm like, it didn't work. Whatever. But
how old again? How old?
4 months. He's 4 months old now.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of wild. I'm just wondering if you heard any new details about like what's going on with like the virus? Like, you got anything new on it, or just we're all?
I'm not. Well, I'm not. I don't want to get. You're kind of the wrong guy for.
Yeah. No, that's not even the main thing I wanted to bring up.
Here's
I have
my.
one really small thing.
Here's some details.
Yeah.
It didn't leave. It's still here. I don't know why we're acting like it's. Listen, I'm not expecting people to be. I'm not expecting people to be locked down or anything like that. I understand.
Yeah.
There was it's much different when you have vaccines.
Yeah.
And protocols and what to expect, and hospitals are better prepared and have what they need to take care. But
Yeah.
there's some sort of middle ground. I feel like that we're not
Yeah.
where it's just like the United States of America has just decided that it just doesn't exist anymore. We're just gonna close our eyes
Absolutely.
and pretend it's not even a thing,
Yeah.
which is it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's insane. I mean, the majority report guys and gals have been not doing a show because they're out with COVID.
Yeah. I
Um,
know. I was about to I follow the majority report like right on point, and I was like, oh, 5 minutes beforehand, Sam is like saying, I'm not doing it, like kind of thing. Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you this: not doing a show because you're sick would never happen here on Doomed with Matt Bender, on this live stream show, because I'll be here in this closet in my house, in my apartment.
I keep up with all your
I'll-
shit, buddy. You know.
I'll be in here. You'll see me literally
Yeah.
sweating, bloodshot eyes, and I'll be like, "Hey everyone, welcome to Doomed."
Yeah. Well, I recorded all this, and I'm sending it to Sam right now. Yeah.
Hey, he could. Hey, I gotta let him know. Next time that happens, you could depend on old Matt Binder to do a last-minute impromptu episode of the Majority Report. I could have easily taken the reins. They don't have a home set up unless they have everything prepared. I got a home set up ready to go 24/7 at a moment's notice.
I'm 100% on your side. I want you on that. Like I'm all on board. Like, you can hold the reins of the Majority Report for sure.
I've done it before. Not
I know
in,
you have.
not
I've
in,
watched you since I've watched you for 8 years. Like I know.
Mhm.
I know.
You guys
And-
could have, you Majority Report fans could have had a show on Friday and on Monday, if old Sam Cedar reached out to old Matt Binder.
Oh, he needs to get on it. There was the first time I called into you, I was saying how I appreciate how chill you are. Like, you had just debated Tim Pool. It was probably useful to you how relaxed you are, right? But
Oh, thank you. I guess listen. The funny thing is, I'm probably not like that in real life. I guess I'm.
Well,
I
you
could
know,
be pretty. I could be pretty. I could be pretty. I could be. No, it's. I guess I do have sort of a laid back demeanor.
well,
all the time.
when you're debating these people, but you're doing it for a purpose.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
know for a fact that without a doubt there are
Yeah.
things that these guys, not just Tim Pool, but I've done all these debates. There's things that have pissed me off, and I could easily have gotten a little bit crazy, but I'm like, it's not going to do anything here. It's
Well,
gonna,
that's what I slightly wanted to bring up, is because the first thing I ever saw of you was a Majority Report thing, and some really asshole caller was being really, I don't know if it was sexist or really homophobic, but you were not happy, and you kind of unleashed on him. And that's nice too. I like how calm you are now, but you know what? It was nice to see you passionate. It was nice.
yeah, you like how calm I am now because you're on the phone with me and you don't want me going berserk on you. Is that right, buddy?
You're not going
that's
berserk
right.
on me because I agree with everything you have to say. It's fine. I'm just saying that it was kind of nice to see the calm Matt Bender just sort of unleash on somebody. And that was one of the first things I saw of you way back in the day.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean,
That's good too. Sometimes you got to do that too. I'm just saying.
I really like talking to people. So I really like people calling in. Maybe I do let people talk for a little bit too long. Sometimes I think it's worth it. Other times I look back and I go, maybe I should have cut that off a little bit earlier. But I guess for you to make me angry, you have to really.
Oh, they did. They did. That's the thing, is that they really did. So I really want to go back and find out what it was exactly, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. But it was
Yeah, let me
it
know
was
because I don't
something
remember.
really
There's probably been a
anti-gay. It
few
was something
times.
really anti-gay or something, and it really frustrated you, and it made you just like you more, like whatever it was. I can't remember what it was now, but you really stood up for people, and it was cool. It was.
I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that.
That was
Is
like
your
my first review. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is your let's get back to you. We forgot to ask. How's your kid doing now? Is your
He's
child
doing well. Like, he did get COVID, and somehow I'm a freak, and I have not gotten it. My wife got it, and he got it, and I didn't. So I've been sending people that, like, a meme from The Simpsons, where, like, Mr. Burns is like, I have every disease, but not like but I can't get this now, I guess, because they're all cramming in at one point, and so, like, yeah, I have not gotten COVID. I'm the only person I know that has not gotten COVID. So, whatever.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
I'll take it, I guess. But
Take it.
I
Yeah.
could really, like I've told you before, but I'm in a new school every day, taking pictures. So, like, I am more, like, I'm exposed to disease all the time because kids are gross. And I've not gotten it.
Wait, wait. You what, say that again? You work
I take pictures of kids in schools, so
Like
every
you're
day I'm in a
so
new
you-
school. I could be
and you have not gotten. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now I'm really.
I mean,
now
I got every vaccine every time it was available to be safe. Like, I keep, I'm trying to make sure I'm, like, keeping up in the info, and so I'm like, oh, this vaccine is like the bivalent whatever. Let me get that one. But still, like, I've been, like, for the past year, I've been like, where's my next vaccine? And I have not gotten it. And I feel like they're kind of falling off on that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I would like some info. Yeah, I would like some info.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I'm the only person I know who has never gotten COVID. And everyone in my house had COVID.
Maybe you did have it and you don't know. It's possible. Some people don't even realize.
I took a test every day. So, I mean, the test could be wrong. But the thing is that the past week, my whole family had it. Every day I took a test. And I stayed in the basement. And I don't have it. So, yeah.
Maybe you have some sort of
I'm a freak. I'm an X-Man.
Maybe you need to be studied. Maybe you have the you have the cure. Maybe you are the answer to.
Yeah, I'm an X-Man. That's what I'm saying. Everyone should listen to me about that, but no one's paying attention. Yeah.
All right. This was a great call, Dan.
I've got one.
All right. Go
One
ahead.
last thing for you. There was one thing I want to bring up. Oh, now I lost it. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. I had something for you, Matt, and now I lost it. Oh, God.
Well, you messed up. This is your one and only chance to talk with me. You're never gonna get this opportunity.
No, I've talked to you 4 times. I guess it's fine. Like, if it's, I'll let it go if I can't think of it in 3 seconds. But, well, thank you for talking to me again. I was excited to tell you that Miles is doing well.
Good.
I did tell you about him, like 3 months ago.
I think I remember congratulating you when he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I told you my grandpa was like a big jazz fan, so I was like, I wanted jazzy names. I wanted Miles. So.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So I haven't called back since then, but I just wanted to say, hey, I've still been following everything you're doing or whatever since then. And one thing you're doing is covering Elon Musk, and that's been especially funny recently. So because he's the worst all the
He's
time. He's a nightmare,
he's
man.
he's he's yeah, he's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. At a certain point, I'm like, am I just like enjoying what he's doing, like, or is he just that bad? I don't know. Like, uh, it's he's hard to watch, but he's also like hard to look away from, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's one of
No,
those.
he's he's a car crash. Right. He's a
Yeah,
yeah.
he's awful. I hate him so much. Well, whatever.
Well, Daniel, have a great night.
I'll let you go.
I hope your family gets back to 100% very soon. I'm glad to hear that they're
Yeah.
on the mend, and
Oh yeah.
have a
They're
great
all
night.
healthy now. So.
Go good. All right, take care.
All right. Take care, Matt. Have a good night.
You too. All right, let's go. Maybe I'll take. What time is it? Jeez, we're hitting the 2 hour mark. Jeez, this show just flew by. One or two more calls. Let's see. Everyone just hung up. I went to take a call and everyone just hung up. Oh, here we go. Let's take this one. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Just give me 1 second, Matt. I gotta pause a couple of things because I'm just in the background. My bad. Hold on.
Right. Oh, it's me, Gene Okerlund, in the background.
Oh yeah, I was gonna block that out till I was in the Dodo Control Center. I couldn't find a proper picture. I guess I took over the majority report last week, where now everyone got sick apparently. So I apologize for that.
Oh, you got everyone sick. Yeah, you went into the studio, and all of a sudden, Hansi brought COVID into the.
And I'm vaccinated, so I don't know what's going on here, man. No,
Yeah.
what's it called? No, I liked the leftist mafia show you guys did last week. For first covering the Jimmy Dore stuff with Cornell West, because
Yeah.
that got out of dude. That was like it's like, dude, Jimmy Dore just now, like, whatever he does, man, it's like he shows more and more without even admitting that he's going to the right wing direction. That he just goes there. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like he had to know that he looks like a hypocrite when he's not pushing back against RFK and he pushes back fully against Cornell West. And again, I'm not even saying that, like, I respect Cornell West. I don't really think, like, I don't know if, like, this whole thing is legit, because whenever, like, somebody is running and then you have all these associations like Peter Dow and all that kind of stuff, then I start wondering if, like, I'm supposed to take it seriously. You know what I mean? But I at least can tell that, he did the right thing by calling out Jimmy Dore, at least in my personal opinion. But one of the topics that I wanted to talk about, because again, this is like, again, because, like, it's coming up, it's like stuff that was like underground in the 2010s is, like, now becoming like tabloid entertainment fodder, like, in current day, with, like, the current online mainstream media stuff. Like, for example, that whole Obama potentially being gay or whatever the fuck it is. Like, I don't give a shit if Obama's gay, but the reason why that I found it important in a sense is because, like, when you look up, like, a lot of the, you search trending topics and you see mostly a lot of the Elon Musk fan people getting top billing in the discourse, like, on the in the in the top results and all that. As soon as that came out, I knew where it was going, in the sense that it's the same thing that I fell for, because, like, let's say, for example, in the political and showbiz world, just for the sake of it, let's say, like, a lot of people are just like it has nothing to do with, like, them as a human being, whatever. If people are all getting down and doing whatever the fuck they're doing, and I don't care if they're doing that, but if I could buy that people are doing that. But when people back then just set it up, like, they'll tell you about, oh, this evil is being done in the world where people are planning to do a takeover. And guess what? They're having gay sex. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that and having gay. But it'd be like if I made the comparison that all fucking heterosexual dudes are all planning to take over, but then they're also having straight sex. Then you're like, oh my god, like it'd be me weaponizing heterosexual sex if like people are doing evil. So I used to so that's why it used to like be one of the main things in the conspiratorial world back in like the chat room days, whatever, of like the Illuminati YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff when I was getting into that, whatever. So I always knew that like whenever like they would present some type of fucking evil, it would always like have the caveat of, oh, and they're having gay sex, whatever. And then so when you go, oh, the establishment's evil, and now they're promoting LGBTQ stuff, you're like, well, that must be an agenda, basically. That has to be the agenda because they're promoting something like this. That must mean that evil people that are promoting it, that must mean the whole thing is evil. And that's how, like, I think they fucking tricked you with different elements, like, like with feminism, or, because I've been watching the dark side of the 2000s, and they did, like, a couple of
Wait,
these.
what's the dark side of 2000s? What's that?
It's, okay, Dark Side of the Ring?
Oh, the Vice started doing. Oh, I think I heard of this. Yes, they started doing something.
They have Dark Side of the 90s, but Matt, if you watch some of these ones, if you correlate some of the stuff that they're talking about and correlating it with like the online culture of where the replacements are, what's it called? You can see it. So when they're talking about like, so the last week's episode was about the Maxim magazine, like the culture or whatever, and it always starts the same out. It's like, oh look, it started out as self-deprecating and having fun until it became creepy and they started putting like incel type of fucking messaging into the magazine, and also having the fan base like basically like pressure, like the magazine themselves pressuring females by constantly making fun of them, and then the females having to say, well, I did it because like their fan base was picking on me, so that's why I did this. So like they're going over that, so you can correlate a lot of the topics. Like for example, like the shock jock one is a two-parter of doing the Stern Show and Opie and Anthony. If you look at that episode, you can see the fucking you can see how it's replaced now with the Twitch streamers versus each other and the fucking YouTube people against each other, and how people are playing dirty to like do stuff. But you should go out of your way to watch them. They're really good. They're actually pretty good episodes, if I might say so. But but that's why I was trying to get on here about the Obama stuff. Like here's the thing, man. If you tell me that a politician or a celebrity has a faulty fucking past, whatever, like or like they're not on the up and up, I'm gonna I'm gonna buy that because I believe everyone is like, for example, like they have an image, and then the image that gets exposed to the world that is kind of lurking online, like for the last 10 years, then that becomes like the tabloid discourse that's like seen as promotional, because all these rumors that are like circulating in the right wing sphere now and becoming amplified, I feel like they were circulating in the 2010s when I was buying into some of these fucking conspiracies, and now I'm noticing that the very far right wing people that are being amplified up are the ones now amplifying these things, whatever. Because like, if you tell me that George Santos has a faulty past, it's like, okay, so what? But my whole issue about it is like, I don't care if Obama might be down with that type of stuff. I don't really care. But what I do care about is now people amplifying, going, oh, you see, like for example, there's one chick that used to be a leftist, but now she's like totally rebranded. And I used to follow because she's Pakistani, and I'm Pakistani. Her name is Samira Khan, or whatever.
I know who you're
She's
talking
completely
about.
become a right.
I know
Is
you're
you
talking
a
about.
complete
Yeah.
right wing grifter, and she's
Yeah.
like, you see what they call, if Obama's gay, he was the one that was trying to force LGBTQ stuff in Uganda, and he was countering it. Makes you think about forcing one's culture on some, because Obama had like I can already see where the stakes are going whenever they bring out those rumors. So even though, yeah, it's a stupid fucking rumor and no one should fucking give a shit, like I'm gonna have a problem with Obama for policy that he fucking did or stupid shit that he fucking says on the surface. I'm not if the guy is like having sex with dudes, I don't really give a shit if he is. If he's not, that's also good too. I don't like. I used to make a joke that when people
Well, it
used to
doesn't
spread the
matter.
rumor
It doesn't,
that
it's not good or bad. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. His personal life doesn't matter. It's completely,
Yeah, no,
and also
but-
it's completely irrelevant because he is no like. What is the point? He's not running for office. He's not doing any. He's not. He's been
Well,
president.
that's the other part of the right wing conspiracy. They personally think that Obama is actually being a puppet to, like, he's like the guy who's controlling Joe Biden essentially, like, you know what I mean, like that, like that's there for, like, that's why it'll always be important. But like but what I'm saying is, like, I knew as soon as that interview came out, I knew where the right wing trajectory was going with the fucking discourse, because they're gonna tie it in to him, like, 'cause the one, like the one thing that, like, some of the conservative fundamentalists will always kind of like, the one good thing that I thought he did, but that the conservatives will have a problem with, was that he was friendly to the LGBTQ. And you know what I mean? So like, so back in the 2010s, when you're talking about Obama being a war criminal, but then he's like, oh, but he's nice to the LGBTQ, you'd be like, oh, so I guess that is the, like, I'm telling you from, like, how my dumbed down perspective was. So when I see people like now buying into that same narrative, I just roll my head, because I'm like, I was kind of in the same, like, they're like, I was being lured into this kind of fucking thought, because they would always lure it in with some of the stuff that's going on within showbiz cycles and all that kind of shit. Like, whenever there's anything shady in show business, it always has to be under the guise of, like, like, oh, it's because, like, there's liberals running around doing this kind of stuff. Like, it's like, I don't know, maybe there's also, like, a lot of conservatives that run shit in Hollywood. Maybe that's why some of the shady shit's going on in there, not because it's, like, completely left, as, like, people like to fucking say for some odd reason. For some reason, people love to put, I guess because there's some, like, liberal aesthetic in show business, that people think that, you know what I mean. So whenever anyone speaks out about show business, it's always under the guise of, like, generalizing Jewish people, or generalizing, like, oh, you see, they worship the devil in show business, so that's why you got to become a fundamentalist. And you're like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean. So, like, I'm explaining it from, like, how I seen these things, like, kind of, like, creep up, because it used to, like, be common discourse in the 2010s, when I was, like, trying to figure out shit, because, like, I had no one to talk to about this. And then, you know what I mean, and then it'd be more balanced back then, but, like, that's why, like, a lot of, like, a lot of the people that were leaning right never really fuck with me, because I would start questioning their, like, I'd always, like, once in a while question something that they were spewing out, and then they wouldn't fucking like that, because they think that, well, no, we're the truth tellers, so we're telling you what to think. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're saying doesn't make any fucking sense, because, like, your automatic conspiracy is that if the system says something happens, the conspiracy narrative has to be, well, no, that mean if they say it happened, that means it didn't happen. So if they're saying, oh, climate change exists, because they're liars, you go, okay, well, they lied about other stuff, so that means climate change isn't real. Even though you can say that maybe, you know, they're, like, fucking with climate change more to basically downplay it. Like, that could be the fucking conspiracy if you're gonna go with the one. But, like, I would notice that, like, I would always kind of called it out that it would still be, like, for people that are supposed to be free thinkers, they're doing it so simplistic. And I would just notice that they're weaponizing it, in very regressive type of fucking ways, if that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah.
I always come up in confusion where you're like, oh shit, I better just agree with this guy before he gets on my nerves more, or whatever.
No,
I
no,
apologize.
no, 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 no. I no. I think I see what you're saying. It's not that you're out of bounds. I just think I was not sure if I was following.
Yeah, no, no,
Completely.
no,
I
I
understood
just,
where you were in the beginning. I think you got a little bit. You went.
yeah, no, no,
You encompassed a lot. You
I,
encompassed a lot into it.
no, I always try to come on here to, like, at least, like, because, like, a lot of this, because like, if I'm someone that was lurking around in the 2010s, seeing what was, like, being normalized online, and I think, oh well, I'm on the internet, and this is secret information that they don't want me to know. And then I realized that, like, people can also amplify stuff what's on the internet. So when I see this stuff becoming, like, mainstream online, like, where it's, like, becoming discourse all the time, I have to come out and at least try to give my perspective on how, like, dumbed down people can fall for it, because the same shit that I was falling for, I see people now amplifying it and going to the next level of, like, buying into dumbed down shit, where, like, you know what I mean, like I said, like, if all this stuff was mainstream 10 years ago, I would have, like, most definitely been falling for it on a serious level. So, like, because of me always second guessing everything and everybody, I guess like I kind of like always kind of escape when people are trying to, because people online, when they see you're a mentally ill conspiracy guy, they, people who are bad faith, who want to lure you into like darker web, whatever, like a lot of people would only, like, for example, like if I wanted to, like, for example, the people that wanted to amplify me up after the Stern Show shit, but they only wanted to amplify me up if I would attack Howard from the right. Like, for example, like if I had to go, oh, Howard's a PC cuck now, then like they would like support my cause. But if I didn't want, but if I said that like some of the stuff that he's saying as a liberal, I might agree with, even though I have my personal issue with them, they would get kind of mad about that because I'm not attacking him from the right. Where, you know what I mean? So like I kind of like in a way threw my opportunity away to like get vindication, but like also then becoming regressive. And if that was like the only solution for me to get my message out, then it was not worth getting my message out. Then I would be a useful tool like a lot of these people who get used by the right, even if they have gone through something like, valid. Like for all, like, like, because again, because if that shit was true about that fucking that guy in Obama, right? Like I understand, like like if that's his experience and he's being truthful, then okay, fine, cool. But like I don't expect me to think that it's being used for good faith when Tucker Carlson, like the party that hates LGBTQ people all the time, are the ones like pretending like, oh no, I'm supportive of this guy to get a story out. Like you're obviously doing it for an agenda. You know what I mean? So like I can recognize when people are like, if something legit happened to Tara Reid, I feel bad that something legit happened to her. But then I also don't have to fucking just automatically go, well, because that may have happened to her, I gotta listen to what she has to say about Russia, basically, or like what her point of view about that is. Like, I mean, I told you about that. I told you about that before, and you pointed out, yeah, what's her expertise on Russia? Like, why is she coming like a spokesperson for like Russian relations, whatever? If she was just somebody that worked with Biden, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I Tara Reid. Wow, that's a that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Well, no, like she's like the one go, she's like the one go-to example that, because like because everyone that was propping her up made you feel like if you weren't gonna support her 100%, that means automatically that like you must be like, like you must be for sexual assault or something like that. But then it's like, but if bad faith actors who are overlooking other people's sexual assault, it's like, do you actually care
Yeah.
about the people's sexual assault, or do you just care about like like doing it at the behest of propping up the right wing, essentially, if that makes sense?
No, it makes, I was just messing with you. She's a
Yeah,
perfect example of someone who the media sort of just, and for what reason? For who cares? I mean, yeah.
it's cool. Cool. I'm sorry for taking up toward your time, but before I go, I wanted to like talk about, what are your thoughts about the whole T? I don't know if you talked about it yet, the TKO and like the
I don't, I,
Endeavor
I don't
shit.
even know what to think of it. I don't even know what to think of it. My first thought when it first went down is like, wow, he really does not want his children to have his company. It's amazing. Like I can't imagine doing that. Very weird to have I just think it's weird. It's weird.
Do you think there's going to be like a lot of like cross do you think there's going to be a lot of cross promotion now? Like, do you think like somehow like UFC even becomes more gimmick now because of like Vince McMahon, basically? Because I could honestly see that. Like, I always thought they were borrowing from WWE in many ways before, but like, but now it's like now that it's official. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I always had my belief that like again, I know people don't like to get like, because again, saying that a billionaire is smart is like, okay, when you say someone's smart or a genius, that means that it's like a positive thing. But it's like, no, you can be a piece of shit and you can still be very, very fucking smart. I get, to me, smart and genius are neutral words. Like you can be the most evil. I just don't like dumbing down billionaire villains into sitcom people. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna talk about billionaire being a villain, like I feel like guys like Vince McMahon have always like pulled strings, like more so than what people want them to believe. You know what I mean? They can kind of control their narrative of like, yeah, tell everybody that my only racist quality is calling every black person that works for me Shelton Benjamin. Like that would be like the one rumor online all the time, that he accidentally called another black person Shelton. So then everyone would always like, whenever Vince McMahon being racist comes up, people would be like doing impressions of Vince McMahon calling every black guy Shelton for some odd reason, or him not knowing what a burrito is. You know what I mean? Like stupid. Like you can't. Listen, I understand you want to hate Vince McMahon, but don't please don't dumb this fucking guy down, man. This guy's like he's very maniacal, man. And I feel like I'm the only one that points this out, but like we can only like gimmick it. You know what I mean? So that's why I want to get your opinion if like you think that there'll be any grave changes to WWE or UFC in that regard.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, honestly, when you think about you know these companies, it's not like WWE is joining a company that has a stand up sort of reputation either. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, I would say that out of the two companies, easily hands down, the more progressive place to work would be the WWE, as odd as that sounds, but easily, by far too, by a lot, I would say. You know, would I rather work every day with Triple H or Dana White? I mean, it seems like a very easy choice.
I mean, it's easy. It's easier. It's easier, right? Because here's the thing, man. I don't know. For some reason, there's a lot of people who work in WWE, who work in NXT or whatever. There's been like inside jokes about how like that's like a QAnon training seminar or something like that. Because there's so many people that have left there that have like suddenly rebranded as like a QAnon, like you know what I mean? Where they, I feel like I feel like
Well, it's
now
in
that like
Florida. You bring a bunch of young athletes down to Florida and have them all live in the same area. You're gonna get you know, it's gonna happen. You just
I get you, man. I get you. What's it called? Have you been watching any wrestling, or have you been keeping off from it?
No, I've been watching. I've been paying attention. I don't remember the last show I watched in full, but I've definitely been watching it and keeping up with it.
Well, yeah. What's it called? If you get a chance to, I know it's become an LOL type of company. Impact, you know, I know it's like not like at the level it was like 10, 15 years ago, whatever, like as far as like packing the crowds, but I feel like they do like better booking for at least like the women, or like I feel like they present stuff a little bit better. I'm not saying everything is off the, you know, it's like, you know, off, you know, it's hitting on all cylinders, but you should definitely tomorrow, if you get a chance to, like DVR or whatever, watch Impact, the 1,000 episode of it. You know what I mean? I think they're bringing back some like knockouts from the past and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a 2 week event, so I mean, like if you're like a wrestling fan, whatever, you should try to give Impact a chance if you can, because it's actually a really fun product if you just enjoy, if you like elements of stuff. Like it's not gonna be the talk of the town every single week on social media, but I do think they do enough of a good job to basically have a decent product. Like Josh Alexander's like title run on that in that company was probably like one of my favorite title reigns that they've done in that company. Or I like it better than Kenny Omega's title reign, if that makes sense, or even some of Roman Reigns' title defense. But if you get a chance, man, you should watch the Impact 1,000 episode. If you ever been, were you ever an Impact fan at all or no?
In the earlier days, I thought it was really interesting. I was really excited when they were trying to go head to head with Raw, but that went really bad. And I never got why people, you know, gave them, you know, like when like people like Christian went there and were like, oh, TNA made Christian into a big main event star. Like, yeah, I guess in the company he did, but I don't know. It always felt like the guys who went there lost their reputation a bit. Like, I didn't feel like Christian, to me personally, like Christian, Kurt Angle, Sting, they didn't feel like they were elevated. It felt like they went down a notch to me. I mean, even though they were having great matches, I'm talking about like their status, their main event status. That's not the same for the homegrown talent. I thought AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and all the guys that first became famous from, well known from TNA, I felt they did a great job establishing themselves there.
See, that's a good observation you made. 'Cause I find that later in the years, after like TNA became LOL, TNA, whatever, I felt like when they were rebuilding, they actually did rebuild. Like for example, people look at Lashley and WWE in the mid 2000s as someone that kind of like, it didn't pan out, whatever. And then by the time he came to Impact, I was like, oh, they're gonna bring this guy back, another ex WWE guy. He's not gonna amount to anything really, whatever. It's gonna be LOL TNA. And I felt with MVP being his manager in TNA, I felt like Lashley is like the him and Drew McIntyre and even like EC3 because he left WWE. He was an ex main event guy, but EC3 like all these guys that were in WWE that were like not used as properly there, I felt like they became legit main eventers in that company that felt like more important after they left Impact, if that makes sense. And I thought like Bobby Lashley's transformation, like his Impact stuff was probably some of the best stuff that he has done, and it made him like a lot more credible. I don't know if you ever saw any of Lashley's like main event run in TNA. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, I've never been a Lashley guy. I guess that's part of it. I've never seen. I never got it. But
Lesbians are racist. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, it
No,
literally
well,
is just Lashley. I mean, there's plenty of black WWE superstars that I think should have. I mean, they waited way too long to pull the trigger on Kofi, and Kofi should have never left the main events. And he's still a main eventer to me. Shelton Benjamin is someone they never gave a chance. R-Truth should have had a WWE title run. He really should have, especially when he was really big and they gave him the shot against John Cena. He should have won the title then. It's disappointing, actually, how they've dropped the ball on some of these guys.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. With the call, listen, I don't, I know, I make it happen.
I got it. That Bobby Lashley thing was funny. I have to.
No, no, no,
I wasn't expecting it. Well done.
See, I get too self-conscious about like if I said that, oh, you're a racist, I would have let the joke play for like 5 minutes. But then I get so self-conscious that like someone might take it seriously. So I always have to go, no, no, no. I have to do the pure Canadian thing of going, no, 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 I'm joking, I'm joking, I'm joking.
Right. No, I do
But
that
no,
sometimes too. But you don't have to worry about. It was clearly a joke. I mean, I even.
no, 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 I get you, man. Matt, I'm gonna take off. I didn't want to take over your time, but listen, man, I always enjoy calling in and getting a chance to talk with you. And again, I apologize. I know you're gonna be like, oh no, you didn't do anything wrong, whatever. I always gotta do the patent apology for like always like taking you down the my conspiracy minded thing, whatever, because I just like when I see these topics come up, I like talking to you about it because you seem like you're legit interested in how how the dumbed down process of somebody works who gets lured into that. So at least like I can like expect you to like now take this all into consideration and figure out why people can get lured in and be dumbed down by some of this, because a lot of apolitical people who don't think they're political even though they might be because they're consuming something that's political and they don't know it. A lot of people who are apolitical already by default have a conspiratorial mind. And then when you have like Democrats who blindly just pretend like, oh no, we're all squeaky clean and all that kind of stuff, it makes people go to the bad faith actors who are willing to talk, like mean that a lot of the right wing people who are conspiratorial who will go, oh, I think that the Democrats did this. My conspiracy would be that I think you motherfuckers are doing it and you're blaming on other people. But then when people are like, oh no, nothing to see here, it gives like the right wingers who are trying to peddle that information, like they seem like they're more credible because the apolitical people think, well, if they're talking about it, the Democrats are not talking about it, that automatically means that they're more truthful than the Democrats. And I think that's like kind of false because the online stuff is just as much the establishment as like mainstream establishment stuff already. And I think people just um have trained themselves to think that we're in the 90s and they think that the internet is some underground fucking playground. You know what I mean? So I just try to come on, and I know it might be confusing to some of your listeners and all that, but at least I come on with that perspective to like at least give you, so that you being a smart person who hangs out with smart people, maybe you guys can like figure this out. Going, well, you see, this guy gave me the information of how these dumbed down people think, and I'm hoping that you can extract something good from it, at least from my point of view, at least. You know what I mean? So apologies for talking your ear off.
No, I mean, I wasn't going to stop you from apologizing today because I deserve the apology for this episode. You completely wasted my night.
All right, well,
I'm messing with you. I couldn't do it either. I felt bad.
I know. It's like this guy has enough depression issues. He's gonna go cry somewhere if I don't tell him the truth right now. You know what I mean? I get it, man. But no,
I always appreciate when you call in, Hansi. Have a great night. You don't gotta
you too,
go
brother.
on
Peace out.
apologizing anymore. Take care. Always a pleasure talking to Hansi. All right, folks. It's almost midnight. That's the show. There was only a few super chats. Let me quickly. There was only one super chat. I'll take one more call because there's only one super chat. I'll take one more call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, bud, it's Charlie. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing. Oh shit. Oh, okay. Never mind. I hit a weird button.
Oh, you thought you hung up or something?
Yeah, I thought it just moved it over to like a weird little orb. But that's okay.
No, we're good. We're good. You're on. You didn't leave us.
Yeah. Two real quick like things I kind of want to talk about a little bit. First, real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta mute this. Anne pointed out a story to me about Unity is apparently going to start charging its devs per download. Like if somebody downloads their program, they're going to charge a fee for that.
How did it work before? Wait, what do you mean? Like,
So like if you buy a game from a developer and you download it, they're going to charge that developer a fee. And if you
how was it working previously?
I'm not really sure how it was working.
There was no like revenue share or anything?
I think there was like a split or something. I'm not entirely sure. She's kind of the one who follows it a little bit more, but you know, and one of the weird things that I noticed about it, or well, not weird, infuriating is more the word. Like if you download the game and you delete it and you download it again, they're gonna count that as 2 downloads and charge them again.
Oh, so, that's not cool. That's that I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rev share is or what it was. I think it's fair for a marketplace to, you know, take a cut based on the fact that, you know, they do help market it, and I don't know what else Unity does. I'm assuming it's probably more, being that it's probably integral with the you know, what they with the you know, the software development opportunities that they create via their products. But that is the double dipping on the download is not cool.
Yeah, what it kind of sounds like to me is that they're doing that. Well, they're doing kind of what Musk is doing to Twitter, and what the Reddit CEO is trying to do to Reddit is they, you know, I guess a lot of the shareholders sold off all of their stocks before that announcement too. But it sounds like the scam economy is alive and doing well. So, but it sounds like they're just stripping out the copper wiring and then tanking it, and so they could just like offload it and just getting all of the money out of it while they can. You know, it happens a lot. You see that it's just, you know, and not just in like gaming and stuff. You see it like when what was that movie? The Batwoman movie that they just decided to can because they could get more money out of it by canning it and shit. You know, shit like that.
Right. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, you know,
always got to extract as much out of, you know, they're not happy with making tenfold. They got to make 20-fold. I don't know.
If they didn't make more than they made last year, it's a failure. You know,
right.
Even if you made 8 million one year and 8 million the next year in profit after every, you know, it's just, But
Right.
yeah, she wanted to kind of suggest that as a potential scam economy topic. There are other things than
Yeah,
like
I gotta
Bitcoin and
actually, I
stuff
gotta
to
get
branch
back
out
on top.
into, honestly.
I
But
gotta get back onto scam economy. I've been just trying to figure out where it fits into everything. The funny thing is, scam economy gets more downloads than this show, but in terms of fitting it in, and, I needed to figure out what to do, and so it's not done. It's definitely a lot to talk about. I'm just trying to figure out, where it fits and where to take it.
yeah. Your Doom shows have been pretty awesome for like all of the episodes going on so far.
I
On
appreciate
that
it.
note, I want to thank Usama for calling in and doing that interview because it was really good, and Renee too. I like
Right.
hearing about politics outside of the U.S. Partly to see where we export our bullshit, but also partly because America doesn't pay attention to anything outside of its borders, and I want to know. I want to know what's up. Like,
Absolutely.
but which kind of sort of leads me to like the current topic, like what's going on here in America. Well, we have like Oklahoma is now going to use PragerU for like their learning materials and shit. And the
I saw
Majority
that.
Report played a bit of their Civil War stuff, and I was just frothing at the mouth because I've done way too many Civil War courses in school. There was a semester that I was homeschooled. I had to go through this thick ass book, and like even in the mythologized version, it was just so clear that what they're spouting off is bullshit. And I work with people who think that General Lee's battle flag stands for states' rights. And then they immediately pivot to talking about how Ron DeSantis wants to murder trans people. And as a trans woman, I'm kind of, I in the closet, I kind of just have to sit there and take it. And like, it's infuriating. Oh my God. I was frothing at the mouth at Anne on Discord over here. She had to send me some Arctic weasels doing cute stuff to kind of like
I can
derail
imagine.
that train.
Right.
But yeah, no. Again, thank you guys for calling in. Our chat's the best chat. Oh, and before I jump off, Christ has a sword. I'm a trans lady. I'm Charlie Jinmir. My pronouns are she and her, and the Lord is watching you. Don't judge. Have a good night, bud.
Ooh. Have a great night. Oh, wow. Have a great night. That's how you end the call. Damn. All right. I think someone else was trying to call in. It's midnight now. It's now tomorrow. Let me read. Actually, there's not two super chats. It was where are my super chats at? I can't even find them. Oh, Tokyo Han's gifted memberships. And then Venetia David with a 10-pound super chat. Get well soon, Matt. Get well. You talking about my still talking about my, which I still do have, my my vertigo from that boat ride in August? Or this might be the case. Are you confusing me? Because this has happened numerous times over the past like 8 years. And it just recently happened today as well with someone else. Are you confusing me with Matt Leck? But no, Venetia is a regular in here. I don't think she is. But that does happen regularly. All right, folks. Leftist Mafia this Thursday. Majority Report this Thursday. Leftist Mafia. There's a few people who are going to be out. I don't even know who's going to be there. I know Lance will be out. Mike is on vacation this week. I don't know if David is going to make it. That's up in the air. So it might just be me and Rebecca. I'm going to look into booking a guest or two. It'll be a very interesting show. Different than the normal week. We got another super chat here. Let's see. So Ren with a super chat super chat for a super Matt. Great show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Who should I rate on Twitch? April says I miss Ole on Leftist. Yeah, I miss Ole on Leftist too. Over on Twitch, Risky Biz resubscriber Prime subscriber for 9 months, 3 days till I resub with Prime. Says Risky Biz. Ooh. And Marshall Jetto or Ghetto resubscribed for 1 month at tier 1, subscriber for 2 months. My kids got it. Speaking of COVID, oof. I hope your kid's doing all right. I hope your kid is doing okay. Nachi Ket with 100. I don't know what this is. I'm not sure what is that. I don't know what what currency that is. But thank you for it, Nachi Ket. Usama was great. Glad to see South Asia coverage. Twitter and Facebook affecting democracy worldwide would be a great topic to interview. Love India. Oh, so it was rupees. Thank you so much, Nachi Cat. Yes, I would like to do. I mean, I hope I did good in that interview. I think you could. I feel like you can tell that I'm not as comfortable talking about these issues, in a sense of me being able to provide. I mean, I feel comfortable asking questions. I don't. That's my job as a interviewer. But normally on this show with the topics, I like to go back and forth and have more of a discussion than just pelting people with questions. Because I have expertise in a lot of the areas as well that we talk about on this show. But I want to do more of that on this show. I want to have more coverage of things that typically aren't spoken about or covered. All right, who should I rate on Twitch? Who's getting that Twitch raid? Who's on right now? Let's see. Who's Skid? Who's that? Skid a Deer. Someone just recommended Skid a Deer. Have I rated this person before? All right, cool. I'll raid Skid a Deer. All right, everyone. I'm going to raid Skid a Deer. Enjoyed seeing you all tonight. See you on Thursday, Majority Report, Leftist Mafia. Don't forget, patreon.com/MattBinder if you could support this show. Your support now is more important than ever before. I'll see you next time on Doomed.